Have you ever felt like you're just stuck on a hamster wheel? You're working hard, you're doing all the right things, but you're just not getting anywhere, especially with money. Well, today we're going to dive into some really provocative ideas from Randy Gage's book, Why You're Dumb, Sick, and Broke. We're going to unpack his pretty radical theory that the biggest things holding you back aren't out there, they're actually inside your own head. So let's just start with the big one. This is the central question Gage asks. Are you, without even realizing it, subconsciously programmed for failure? He makes this bold claim that most of us are walking around with a kind of mental software that's literally been coded for just getting by, not for massive success. It's a challenging thought for sure, but it's at the absolute core of his whole argument. So what is this negative programming he's talking about? Well, he's got a pretty wild name for it. He calls them invisible mind viruses. The whole idea here is that your real problem isn't your boss or the economy or just bad luck. Nope. The real enemy is a set of beliefs that are buried so deep, they're actively sabotaging you, and you probably don't even know they're there. Okay, so what in the world is a mind virus? Gage calls it a meme. And not the funny cat picture kind. He means an idea that spreads from one person to another, almost like a real virus. Think about it, like a catchy song you can't get out of your head. These ideas infect our way of thinking. They kind of sneak into our subconscious and start running the show on autopilot. And here are some of the big ones he points out, these poverty memes. Things like money is the root of all evil, rich people are greedy and corrupt, that there's something noble or spiritual about being poor, or that you have to sell your soul to get rich. Do any of these sound familiar? Gage says these aren't just harmless old sayings. They're toxic bits of code that make you subconsciously push away the very success you think you want. So, if our minds are getting infected with these viruses, the next obvious question is, where are they coming from, right? Who's doing all this programming? Well, Gage points his finger at some very, very familiar sources that are part of our everyday lives. And here's his number one culprit. It's not some shadowy organization. According to Gage, one of the most powerful programmers on the entire planet is Hollywood. Yeah, he argues that the stories we watch for fun, the movies, the TV shows, are constantly and very subtly shaping our most fundamental beliefs about what it means to be rich or poor. He uses a perfect example to make his point. Let's take one of the biggest movies of all time, Titanic. Gage breaks it down like this. Think about Jack, the poor artist. How's he portrayed? He's fun, he's carefree, he's full of life. Now, what about the rich characters? They're all stuffy, miserable, and, pretty much morally corrupt. The subconscious message here is crystal clear. Being poor is freeing, and being rich is a trap. And this analysis leads Gage to a really shocking statement. He actually calls Titanic the most evil movie ever made. Now, why would he say something so extreme? It's because he believes it's a masterpiece of programming, teaching millions of us to subconsciously think that being poor is noble and good, while being rich makes you evil. It just shows how powerful he thinks this stuff really is. But it's not just the big movies. Gage says this stuff is coming at us from all over the place. Think about TV shows that always paint millionaires as either bumbling idiots or scheming villains. He argues that governments often prefer citizens who are needy and dependent, that some organized religions teach us that we're unworthy and that we have to suffer now to get a reward later. And maybe the toughest one, even our own friends and family, who sometimes shoot down our big dreams because they're afraid we'll outgrow them. Okay, so after hearing all that, it would be really easy to just throw your hands up and feel powerless. But this is where the whole thing takes a really important turn. Gage's goal isn't to get you to blame the world. It's actually the opposite. It's to get you to take total, radical responsibility for what's going on in your own mind. It's all about breaking that victim cycle. And this question just cuts right to the bone. Are you a victim or are you a volunteer? His argument is that, yeah, we might have gotten this programming when we were kids without our permission. But at some point as adults, we make a choice, usually a subconscious one, to stay a victim. We hang on to those stories because, let's be honest, they get us sympathy and let us off the hook. But here's the kicker. You cannot be a victim and be prosperous at the same time. You have to choose. Gage says that our core beliefs lock us into one of three cycles in life. A very small number of people are on the Midas touch cycle, where everything they do just seems to work out. Most people, he says, are on the flat line, just kind of getting by, in a state of quiet desperation. And then there's the bottomless pit, where people just bounce from one crisis to the next, always feeling like life is happening to them, never realizing they are the one common denominator in all their drama.
The whole idea is captured perfectly in this quote Gage uses from the philosopher James Allen. You are not the victim of your circumstances, but the architect of them. This is such a huge shift in how you see the world. It means your thoughts, your deep-seated beliefs, that's the blueprint. And your life, that's the building that gets built from that blueprint.
So, if we are the architects, how do we start designing a better building? This brings us to the final and honestly the most important part of Gage's message, the actual practical steps you can take to build a prosperity mindset. This is about shifting from being passively programmed to becoming the active programmer of your own mind. And to explain this, he uses another amazing metaphor from James Allen, the mind's garden. See, your mind is going to grow something, no matter what. If you don't consciously plant the seeds you want, the flowers of health, happiness, and success, then the random seeds of fear and doubt and negativity from the world will just blow in on the wind and grow like weeds. So, how do you start taking care of this garden? Gage gives a really clear 4-step plan for a full mental reboot. Step 1, stop the constant flow of weeds by turning off the news. He argues it's just designed to make you anxious and afraid. Step 2, start planting good seeds by reading empowering books. Step 3, make it a non-negotiable daily habit. Commit to at least 30 minutes of self-development every single day. And finally, step 4, put a fence around your garden by auditing who you spend your time with. The whole point of doing all this, the reading, the auditing, the daily practice, is to create what he calls a mental equivalent. This is a huge concept. It means you have to build prosperity in your mind first. You have to create a super clear, detailed internal blueprint of the life you want before it can ever possibly show up on the outside. And why is this process so vital? Because, according to Gage's claim, a staggering 90% of the programming we are exposed to every single day is negative. I mean, just think about that. It's a constant flood of you can't, it's not possible, and be afraid. That's exactly why just hoping for a better life never works. You have to be deliberate and consistent to fight back against all that negativity. So let's end this where we started, with a question for you to really think about. If you take an honest look at your thoughts, your beliefs, and the results you're getting in your life, what have you been planting? What ideas have you been watering every day? Really, what thoughts are you allowing to grow in your mind's garden?